Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are you?
I am good. Um, I okay. I try to think about because we record so many episodes at once. I try to think about things in terms of when I did them so that I can put them in order. But I'm not doing that this week because I'm just going to complain, and the
That's fair.
complaining is more recent, but on the forefront of my mind. I am fucking cold. Um, I found out today that, and then this is a rumor. We heard this going around the building, but we found out that apparently the boiler at my school is set to not turn on until the outside temperature gets below 57 degrees.
That's chilly. That's chilly, friends.
That's chilly. Um, I don't know if you know, but it's not warm at 60 degrees either.
No.
And I teach in an old, like a 100-year-old building. So it holds on to the cold.
Yeah.
And so for the entire week that it has been below 65 degrees, we have had no heat. And I was talking to one of the teachers and I was like, you know how some kids have things in their IEPs that they have medical conditions and they have to have air conditioning and stuff in certain rooms and whatever. And she was like, yeah, I think I need to have a personal work plan that says if it gets cold enough that my Raynaud's acts up and my fingernails turn purple, I'm fucking outie. I'm done. I'm leaving. My hands were so cold today. My fingernails were
Jesus Christ.
lit. They're still not back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
was
wild.
I was mad. But of course I was also really crampy and achy and mad at the world anyway. And then my hands were turning purple and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna teach today. I'm just gonna sit here. You can pay me for
I,
nothing.
I love it. Did you read a book?
I did. I did.
Did you upload today's episode?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, that I didn't do because I didn't do because I don't want to do that on the school Wi-Fi because they can see
Oh,
all the things
fair.
that I'm doing at work.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I will when we're done with this.
Cool, 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 cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm drinking hot cocoa, even though it's basically June. It's really
Yeah.
upsetting. And I'm considering not going to work tomorrow. Just kidding. I am going to go to work tomorrow because I only have a half day of PTO left that I can take. Not really. I have 10 and a half days of PTO left. I could just never go to work.
Oh,
But but we get a bonus
yeah.
if we have 10s unused at the end of the year. And I'm poor. And since I'm not
Right.
actually sick, I can't really
Sure.
afford to lose my health bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I feel that in my core. In my core. I may be sick and I'm still am I going to work tomorrow? I might be. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm unwell. I am not cold. It is very hot here. I'm so sick of summer and it hasn't started. Um, but it's at least it's been stormy the past couple of days, so our high's been 87 instead of 95, which is better, but not great. Um, Thankfully I do have my AC on, so I'm not dying of a heat stroke
Yeah.
inside of my house. But when I have to go literally anywhere, it's miserable. Um, I may be sick. We will find out on air in 8 minutes. I didn't go to work yesterday because I've been sick. It's also usually I try not to just wear a t-shirt and my glasses because of reflecting and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I can't see with my contacts. My eyes are broken, they don't work, they hurt. And that has nothing to do with being sick. That is all to do with studying for the bar and staring at screens and reading too much. So I'm just in glasses until I can see again, basically. So here we are. But I don't know what's going on. My doctor said it sounded like could be fatigue, could be cold flu COVID symptoms. So I've bought a flu and COVID test at Walgreens to see
Yeah.
how that goes. If not, it is more likely fatigue or a cold that just doesn't register, or not flu A or B. It's but another could be another. It's just not one of those two. Um, but yeah, so I'm just like surviving.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like not hungry, and so I forced myself to eat a breakfast sandwich this morning, and then on my way back from Walgreens, I stopped and got this like vegan nut smoothie thing, protein replacement meal or something. And I was like, I need something that's gonna feed me.
That sounds disgusting.
It's the best thing I've ever had in my whole life. I don't remember what's in it. There's cocoa powder, there's protein powder, there's bananas and peanut butter. Those are the four fries. There might be like dates or something.
But
I don't
why do they bother calling it vegan anything? If
I don't know.
that's just it's just to charge people more money. They label it as vegan
It's the
so that
same price as all of the other smoothies.
I'm sure all of the smoothies are overpriced.
Oh, no, all of the smoothies are overpriced, but in this particular case, they have not used it as an overpricing tool.
It's just a trendy bullshit.
Yeah. And I mean, like, for vegans, like, yeah, it's easier if you just like know what's vegan because it's called vegan. But I'm not vegan, but I do like this quite a lot. Maybe it's the like type of yogurt or whatever mixer they used.
Yeah, it probably is because most smoothies the base is like Greek yogurt and that is not vegan, obviously.
But this is the only one that had chocolate and banana and peanut butter and was in the meal replacement section. Or I don't even know if I ended up with the meal replacement, but I was in the Be Well section. And I do believe this one said it had protein in it. So I was like, I need something that's gonna not make me pass out for the next 3 hours.
If it has peanut butter in it, even if it doesn't have extra protein in it, it has protein in it.
Yeah. Just like I had a breakfast sandwich today, and that's all I have today other than this. Maybe this will hold me up for.
I had a single cup of Greek yogurt and some Pringles. So you're weirdly doing better than I am.
That's my goal. My goal is saying there. I bought goldfish for way too much money at Walgreens. They were supposed to be on sale, and I'm pretty sure they were, but I just didn't have it in me to go back and forth to the sales thing. She was like, "So you don't want these?" I was like, "No, it's fine." I was like, "I don't even care. Just I will pay the extra $1.50 for them. I don't even care right now." Yeah, so I feel pretty terrible, but I'm gonna hang in there, and we're gonna have a great episode anyways. And this smoothie is really truly giving me life, and it's gonna make everything better. So because I need all of this motivation, I forgot for a minute, this was my episode. Because I need all of this motivation, can you help me out a little bit?
Well, I mean, no, but in order to honor the fact that you're dying, really short, sweet, simple. If you knew this was your last day on Earth, how would you want to spend it?
Not like this. I can tell you that. Not the podcast. Sorry, let me make that clear. This particular moment is fine. However, I do wish I did not feel like I was dying.
Yeah.
Because I did sleep until 4 o'clock yesterday. And I got up and watched the episodes for the podcast yesterday. And then was dying and we rescheduled and I went back to sleep. So this is not how it's my last day.
No. That's fair.
I would feel healthier, hopefully.
Yeah. I would not go to work.
Oh, for sure. For sure would not go to work. I don't know what I'd do. Maybe go like on a car trip. Like, that's like, I mean, you have the typical like Thelma and Louise. I probably wouldn't kill myself in the end. Spoiler alert. But I would probably do like a car trip or something and just like drive until I couldn't.
The problem is everything that I would really want to do, or like everywhere that I'd really want to go to be like, this is it, this is the end, the travel would take up so much of the day.
Well, I like that part of it though. Like, I just want to like sit, chill, and take.
But like, I mean, I would want to like go to London, but that's 6 hours of the 24 on the fucking plane, and that's not worth it.
Right. So yeah, no, that's totally fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. Well, I hope this is what you wanted to do with your last day. Were it so. that we talk about Clarice, season 1, episode 7. I don't know, that was a dark way to start this episode. Sorry. I hope this isn't anyone's last name for stupid is.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
But I do hope you enjoy yourself nonetheless.
Yeah.
This episode is episode 7. It is called Ugly Truth. It aired April 8th of 2021. And it was rated 7.4 out of 10. So we've gone back up.
Yeah.
Which is dope. I think it's a pretty good episode, so it's good. Our number one song is Montero, Call Me By Your Name by Lil Nas X. I don't know that I ever listened to this song. I do indeed know Lil Nas X because I don't live on the road and I did work in music, but
yeah,
I know that I know this.
No, I genuinely think that I intentionally never listened to it. I may know it from weird like TikTok though.
Sure, yeah, that'll do it. Our number one movie is Godzilla versus Kong, and our number one book is Planned by Harlan Coben. If it's not already a Netflix special, it could be because all of his other books are becoming specials. So, I mean, they're good. I haven't actually read one of his books, but I've watched a couple of the like limited series, and they were pretty good. So on this day, this was the what on earth? Oh, the record low for Ivy League admissions. So everyone is like up in arms because the Ivy Leagues have so much lower admission rates than they normally do. Alas. This is also the Rock Hill shooting, which was where Philip Adams, who used to play for the NFL, went and like shot his whole family and then went to like his house or something and killed himself. Yeah. And do you have what you've done this day before I get into the last piece?
No, my Facebook feed is a selfie that I definitely didn't take on that day because I was in full glam from my birthday, I think. Well, I mean, April 9th is only 2 weeks after my birthday, and I like had a big birthday party. It was my last birthday in Thailand, and it was like the first time we were allowed to do things post-COVID, so I had like a big party. And then I also posted an article about Evan Peters getting cast in WandaVision and what that meant for the greater Marvel universe. And yeah, that then tagged Monica in it. And that's literally. Oh, and Monica tagged me in a meme about Bailey Sarian. So that
tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks. For April 2021.
Yeah.
Well, also on this day, the most exciting news is Egypt discovered the lost, quote, Golden City, which was said to be their biggest find since King Tut. It's this Aten, I don't know how to say it. It's Aten, near Luxor. Which feels just so apropos since we're getting into talking about Atlanta soon for our sci-fi Sunday part of the podcast.
Which literally one of my students today he was taking a quiz. He didn't want to take his quiz, so he was finding anything to talk about. And he was like, have you heard the story about the city that's underneath Antarctica? However, he was not talking about the Stargate thing. He was talking about an actual legitimate conspiracy theory that is. Have you heard of it?
I don't think I have. I feel like we should talk about it on the Stargate episode.
I might have to call my mom because she knows all about it. She was listening to like so many Facebook videos about it. It's like fucking wild. But he started asking me about it and I go, yes, I have. It's insane. It's crazy. We'll talk about this later. Keep taking your test. I don't.
Like you did pick the one thing that would be the closest to getting you off task.
You know me. But no.
Right. That's so funny. Well, I can't wait to hear about this conspiracy. So tune into a Stargate episode. Probably the next one. Who's to say? Our directors, Wendy Stanzler, our writers, Jenny Lamette, Alex Kurtzman, William Harper, and Tess Leibowitz, and our editors, Elena Maganini. So no one new. Everyone's the same. Our star for the week is Casey Collins, who plays Agent Garrett, who I never remember his name, but he is the agent that is part of the Black Coalition and trying to get Ardelia.
Oh,
Into that.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
didn't know his name either.
yeah. So I for sure not remembered his name this whole time, but that's okay. He's known for RoboCop, Bulletproof Monk, which sounded really insane, but is just a superhero movie, which makes it feel less insane than if it wasn't.
Ugh,
I know. I mean, I'm sure it's still fine. I'm
I'm
sure it's
sure it's
still
still
fine.
insane.
But right. Spiral and Lost Girl. So I haven't seen the things he's known for. I've definitely seen his face before, so like I've seen him in something.
Yeah,
I just truly didn't have the energy to look and see what it was. So
that's
here we
fair.
are. He's nicknamed Mesmo because people said that his eyes are mesmerizing because in the summertime they're like a light brown as opposed to a darker brown in the rest of the year. Um, Mesmo sounds like a dumb name, but that's a nice explanation for why it's that. Um, he attended the Monroe College in Rochester on a baseball scholarship. Um,
Monroe College is a community college. Why would you need a scholarship for that?
I don't know, but he got a baseball scholarship, and they also had offered him apparently a basketball scholarship, and he went with baseball because that's where his heart was.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. That is the information I have for you.
I
Yeah.
just didn't know community colleges gave scholarships.
I also did not know that. I also didn't know it was community college, but I knew you'd know more about it than I did when I
Yeah.
said it out loud. So that is quite interesting. He also multiple times, like there were like 3 times on IMDb listed that he went in for an audition and they gave him the spot, like gave him the role of the spot. There were no callbacks, there were nothing like that. Like he just walked in, did the audition, and they were like, "You're hired," which is dope. That's how we all want everything to go for us. No callbacks and waiting times. I mean, he is a good actor,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know, I see it. I see it. All right. So we start with a demolition, as all good shows do. Um, but then, however, this demolition is led to a child's body being buried in a wall. Not as well. Not as good.
No, 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 no.
And VICAP is up in arms about this whole thing. They are just like having a fit, which is like fair, but also like you've probably seen a child death. You're a VICAP. Like I don't want to like take away that pain from you, but you act like this is the first time you've seen something like this. Probably isn't.
I didn't take it like that. I didn't take it that they were, I just took it that they take it very seriously because they
Well, they
all
did,
have,
and that is true.
I mean, and obviously we find out more as it goes on, but I think they just
Sure.
like they all seem like they are compassionate enough people that dealing with serial killers is bad enough. Dealing with somebody hurting children is like next level.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair. It just seemed like so much more heightened than we were talking about the serial killer stuff. And I was like, these are all bad things. I don't know why this is so much more bad than the other bad thing. They're all bad things. But that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. Um,
But didn't they also say that it was like a missing persons case that was like a year, at least a year old that they like find that finding the
it was
body?
like 9 months, I think, is what they
Yeah, but so
said. But yeah,
it was kind of like a very public thing already. So
yeah,
that kind of puts the buzz
that was
up.
that's true.
And you know, the AG and her psycho-ness, a hurt kid kind of falls right into the like image that
Right.
she's trying to like
Sure.
so
Maintain for herself.
yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Um, we also learned this time that Clarice was released back into the field after like 1 week of rest. So all
Which
that talk,
which to be fair, she only had 2 weeks and she did a whole week of it.
but still,
But
like how, like I've been down for like 4 days, like with whatever. It's not the flu or COVID.
oh yay.
But whatever is going on with my body, I've been down for 4 days, and I'm like, I need minimum a week for this. And this girl had an epidural in her back and couldn't walk and was paralyzed and drugged to death, and then brought back. And she's like, 1 week's fine. Like,
To be fair, I have a fairly high pain tolerance. Like I said, like you guys know, I had bronchitis and didn't know it for
right.
literally longer than you're allowed to have bronchitis for. Like I was like, no, it's fine. Um, but I was thinking today that I genuinely as much as I'm for progress and like equal rights and women in the workplace, I think we should go back to when women weren't allowed to leave the house when they were menstruating.
But I'm same. I can back that.
Like,
As a lawyer, I back that.
like, and like, I don't know what loophole I need to figure out. I don't know what I need to do to my contract, but if I could not lose PTO and also not leave my bed, that's all I want.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. No, I understand that Clarice is stronger than me. I fully get that. Do not worry. However, I do think I would need more than a week if I was dealt with all the physical elements of that,
Oh,
as well as the trauma.
I mean, here's the
and
thing.
On top of already being traumatized.
Here's the thing. The trauma, I would push down. I would ignore. I would say, bring me back to work tomorrow, and I'll just pretend I'm okay. However, the physical pain, I would milk that shit for all it's worth. I'd be like,
Yeah.
2 weeks? Two? Are you sure three wouldn't be more appropriate?
I know. I'd be like, I don't know, bro. I still don't think I can walk. Like,
Listen,
I just,
give me a paid leave. Give me a paid leave and I'm all over it.
oh God, that's all I want in life is a paid leave. Feels like the way to go. Um, so they're getting ready to leave the office to go about this case. And she sees the picture of the smoking man, who we now know his name is Joe, which is so much less exciting. But
yeah.
his name is
Yeah,
Joe.
but Joes are all assholes. I don't know a single good Joe.
I know a good Joe. Deb's husband is Joe. Deb I used to work for, her husband's Joe.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
And and Joe, I work with a Joe that I like.
Dan's cousin Joe is a lovely person. Like,
see, it's just the one.
It's no more than one.
Well, I only know the one for you, but I don't think I have anything against Joes in general.
I do. Basically, anybody, if his name starts with J.
Yes, that I can stand behind.
Yeah,
that
yeah. Joe is not an exception to that rule.
An outlier, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's probably fair. So we see the picture of Joe, and she like full panics for a second inside of her brain. And she's like, this is the man.
She's like, oh my God, you found him already? And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right. And he's like, what? This man that I know? What do you think I found him for? And so she's like, this is the guy I saw. And so Kindler like kicks her out and talks to the team. And he's like, I don't know what's going on here. This is Joe. And I really don't think this is the guy. Like, he's setting up, like, he's my attorney. He wants to help me get the kids. Like, I just really don't think that this is the guy. But he says that Cal can come with him. And he's like, and you can take pictures and see what you find or whatever. He was like, but I just don't see it happen. And Murray's running point on the dead kids case, which we learned is like maybe good, but also pretty detrimental to his
mental health. Yeah.
So that sucks.
I mean, again, the people who are the best suited to solving the problems are also often the worst choices.
Right. I mean, look at Will. So good at what he did. But very bad for his mental health and physical. So,
yeah.
Good times. Good times. So we go to the crime scene, and we learn that this all happened because the homeowners were doing renovations. And the body was found, and when it like hit the air, like flies just poured in, which also gave them an indication there was something in the wall.
Yeah.
And then Clarice says the child was like 9 to 10 months decayed. So she's like, he was killed immediately. Like there was no like taking him, or it was just
right. It was like when he went missing was the same time he died. Like
yeah. And she says it looks like the way he was like put in there and like kind of put together, it was like someone was trying to protect him. Not that necessarily it was a fight. I mean, it was obviously a violent crime, but not in the sense of like violent for violence sake. but more
Yeah,
for protection.
it was like she said that because he was in the fetal position, it like almost looked like a mother trying to hold and protect
Yeah,
their child.
right. Um, and Clark's like, well, clearly wasn't protected. Obviously, yes, because he was
Yes,
killed.
Clark, I understand. You're not
Yeah,
wrong, but just let us get the profile.
right. And so then we go to Map and Agent Garrett, and they're discussing the coalition meeting again. And Clarice calls in about info for the case, and she's like, "Can
Mhm.
you see if this case looks like anything else?" And then the mom comes in to the crime scene to see the body, and Clarice immediately covers him up. But then she's like, "I understand that you have to see this body,
But
and
you
we're
have
gonna let you,
right. You have to be
but."
prepared for it. Like,
Right, we want to make sure you're prepared, and you have to know that he did, even though it's like just a small thing, he didn't feel any pain.
yeah,
Like,
I know what it looks like, but
right. So she's like, this is the best of the best case scenario. That doesn't seem that way.
right.
So we go back to VICAP, and Clark is still up in arms about this, and he's like yelling at people, and he's like directing things, and he is just a mess. Um, and then we go, and then Matt enters. She comes in, and Clarice starts telling her about Paul finding Joe, and she says like, and then she's like, "But we're gonna have to talk about this later. Like, we can't really deal with this right now."
Yeah.
And Matt tells her she found a cold case from 12 years ago with the same DNA. And we hit the credits. And I know we talked about credits last, I think it was like last episode, maybe, whenever we
Yeah.
did one of the last Stargate episodes, because you were like, this was kind of long. This was a long intro.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot we hadn't hit the credits yet because it took so long to get there.
Yes, agreed.
Um, but it's, I mean, that was a good place. Like it was a good leave off place. It gave you all the information you needed to start with. So.
Yeah, but also the credits are not very memorable on this show, so sometimes I just
They're
forget that
really
you
not.
haven't seen them because I don't remember
Right.
what they like. If you asked me right now to tell you what the song for the show sounded like, I couldn't.
Yeah, same. Same. Um, so we go back in the credits, and Map is telling Kremler the same information she was giving Clarice before, and how everything lines up with this other case.
But
And
is this when we find out that it's mitochondrial DNA?
no.
Oh, okay.
So then she starts asking to be included on this, well, kind of. She starts talking about
Yeah, we talk about that.
she,
We don't talk about what mitochondrial DNA is or what it
right.
means, but we do say that we do
Mhm.
know that that's the kind of DNA that they were able to run.
Right. Because she starts talking about she wants to be included, and she's like, I think I should be included because this is my like life's work. Like I've been studying mitochondrial DNA. I'm the one who really understands it and really gets it. I'm the one who found this.
Yeah.
Let me be on this case. And Crinler's like, okay. And so she's like, I want to start with the mom and the owners of the house. The mom of the original boy, and then the owners
Well,
of the
and we
house.
also don't we also find out that she's from like she grew up in the same neighborhood as the first case.
Yeah. Yeah. So she was like, I know these people or like these type of people because I'm from there. And so then like we're getting ready to go off, and she's like, what was it like seeing the body? And Clarice tells her, she's like, the nightmare is not in seeing the body. Like it's not great, but it's not seeing the body, it's seeing the mom see the body. Like that's the harder
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, because you can dissociate. Like a body can be a body. It can be science. You don't know anything about the kid. You don't know anything about the victim when it's just a body. You find a dead body and you're trained in like the analytics of it. You can make it what it is. However, when you see a family member crying, you can't analyze that away. Like that is pain.
Um, so then we pop over to Paul and his attorney, Joe. And he starts by asking him what kind of man he wants to be. Joe does. And he's
Yeah.
like, I can't give you your kids back. Like, the woman always wins, but I
Yeah.
have things on Mandy. Like, I can bring up all these stories. And Cridler's like, I don't want to play dirty. He's like, I want my kids, but I don't want to, like, drag everyone through the mud to do it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, that's just what it is. Like, this is what we're gonna do. And he wants to start talking about how Mandy cheated because he brings up this like really horrible story about how like she got like wasted at a party and like at work, and it sounds like he's trying to make it sound like she was cheated on and like she was cheating on him, but it sounds like she got taken advantage of. And
Yeah.
it's like one of the guys that she worked with is like, we'll come forward to talk about this. And I'm like, bro, you should be getting prosecuted too. Like, this should not be a cheating story for Mandy. Like, if she doesn't know what was going on, that's a
Yeah,
problem.
if she's a chronic alcoholic who gets blackout drunk in front of her children and she had sex with a guy at a party, what?
And if he knows that's the angle, that she didn't know what she was doing, but that they're gonna blame her, I was like, bro, this is not looking good. It's not looking
Mm-mm.
good for you. But no one cares. So that's fine, I guess. Um,
Well,
and
I mean,
then
it was the 90s. Well, nobody.
that's true. I mean, it did come out in 21, but it was the 90s, so that is the way
It was the
probably would have
90s,
been
like
handled.
that. Ugh,
Um,
ugh.
sorry. So so he goes outside. He's just mad. He like goes to leave because he can't deal
Yeah.
with this guy anymore, obviously. And we go outside and Cal's in the car and he's taking pictures and he follows him.
Mhm.
And then we jump over to mapping 30s. Um, and oh, they're talking. So they're talking to Bobby, the first boy, the Bobby's neighbor, and they're asking about where his mom is, and he's like, "Fran isn't here." And Matt comes forward and pushes harder, and she's like, "Look, I used to live in this neighborhood. I just want to talk. We just want to help. Like we might have a lead or whatever." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Okay, she's next door at the neighbor's house. Like she's been staying there since Bobby left or whatever. I don't know, like how long, but for a while." And so he takes them over there, and we learn the neighbor's actually her brother. So Fran is the mom, Terrence is her brother,
Yeah.
and then we're at the neighbor Mary Beth's, and they're talking about it, and the mom is so thrilled that someone's coming to like figure out what's going on because this case never really got looked at. It was very overlooked, which is very, if you're in the crime world, is very typical for cases that are a little more like, for sometimes for Black kids or for Indigenous people, like they don't get as much media attention
Yeah.
as rich white kids. And so that's what we're dealing with between the two cases.
Yeah. Well, and we found out it was a poor Black boy in an abandoned house, and so the cops just were like, "Oh, it was drugs," and then
Yeah,
call it a day.
right. Which is unfortunately something that happens.
Yes,
Um,
and it is unfortunately something that happens, and it is aggravating and painful, and all of the nasty things are true. But in my mind, what I thought was these motherfuckers pulled a kid out of a wall, like solidly boarded up into a wall, and they thought, yeah, that was a drug murder. What crackhead has time for
right.
that?
Truly, truly.
No,
Which person doing drugs cares that?
yeah, like, yeah, let me snort some meth and then take the time to do masonry.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Not good. Not even a
So
little bit.
that's just bad police work. Like a racist, but
Yeah,
more so terrible police work.
right, right. And if say it was 12 years before, we're thinking like early 80s, we don't even hardly know serial killers exist yet. Because that was really late 70s when they started kind of becoming more prominent. So they probably are just like, it's a dead kid. We don't know what's going on. It just happens sometimes. We don't need to study that. It's like the John Mulaney skit where he's like, I feel like I quote his skits all the time. Where
Yeah,
he's
but
like, just what was it? Just wipe that blood up right there before you start testing stuff, clean it up a bit.
yeah,
Like
but basically,
that is how it was. So
fucking
at least we're doing better
wild.
than that. Um, but yeah, so where was I? Oh, yeah. So she's like, well, what we want to do is we're testing mitochondrial DNA. Like we found the same DNA in both places. We want to like make sure that what the crossover is, and we want to get everyone's DNA here. And Fran's like, oh, do you think I'm a suspect? And she's like, absolutely not. Like, that doesn't even make sense. She's like, this is like canceling DNA so that we can put
it's basically
so
like
that it doesn't get.
You would have touched your own child at some point before he went missing. We want to make sure that anything on that you, fibers, hair, anything left on his body that belongs to you is ruled out of being evidence.
Right. So it's just to make sure we have a tighter profile. And she's like, oh, absolutely. And so she's like crying because she's so happy someone's doing this. And Terrence is a little hesitant about giving his DNA, which I'm sure was supposed to be a red herring because they talked about being like a father figure. And so, but he had no reason to kill the second boy. So
no, I think they did it as a little bit of a red herring, but I really didn't even feel like it was that. I really felt like it played much more into the Ardelia Black Coalition side of things. Like his
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, and that is where it pushed, but I didn't even think of it as a red herring. I genuinely was like, no, this man trusts you zero. Because the police said that his son got plastered in a wall by a crackhead, and that's not fucking reasonable.
Right. Yeah, no, it absolutely had everything to do with that also. But I did feel like it was trying to be a little bit of a red herring.
I didn't think the show was smart enough to try to give me a red herring.
And that's totally fair. Yeah. So everyone gives their DNA though in the end. And so we go over to Clark,
including the neighbor who just voluntarily does it.
Yeah, who's just like on
just
board,
like, I'll help.
On board.
Whatever you need. Take my spit too.
Right. It's like that crazy lady
immediately made me suspicious. Because I was like, ma'am, the fuck?
Yeah. Like you're not making any sense. But okay.
However, if like my best friend's child had something happen to them and they were like, we're trying to get rid of all that, like narrow the field, how can you help? I would absolutely be like, take mine too, like whatever you need.
Well, absolutely.
And it's crazy because like when you watch things like this, they're like, oh, the more you get involved, the serial killer always involves themselves in the case. Like they always push themselves into it. But also like, if the FBI was sitting there with me and my best friend and we're like, we need to solve this case, I'd be like, please take my spit. Like I will help you too.
Well, and a lot of times people say that they're like, if your DNA's not on file, don't put it on. My DNA's on file. Like I've done fingerprinting, I've done all of
I know, yeah.
Like, so I'm not worried. Like you were gonna find me anyways if it was something I did. So I will help you. Like because I know it's not.
Yeah, like I'm technically a government and like
right.
As a public school teacher, I'm technically a government employee. My fingerprints are on file. And my fingerprints are in private databases too, because Disney has their own fucking wild security that you have to fingerprint with them specifically.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I've been fingerprinted like 3 times in the past 5 years. So like I just this or this.
I was fingerprinted for my TSA pre-check. Like everybody's got me.
Yeah. There's not even a question about it. Yeah. So Chris' neighbor lady has also volunteered. So we go over to Clark and Cal starts talking to him, and he's like, I find it really weird that the lawyer, like, about this lawyer, and I don't know what's going on. And Clark just shuts him down. He's like, we're not talking about this right now. And he's like, okay. And then we go back to Clarice and Matt. And they've deduced at this time it was a man. I couldn't remember if they did this earlier or not, so I didn't say it, but they have deduced at this point that it's a man. That he protected like a father. Okay, I was talking about this earlier. So this is where they started saying like he protected him like a father. And I think because it was so soon after the last scene, is when I was like, oh, were they trying to make it look like Terrence did this?
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so then Matt brings up how there's this is kind of where she starts getting into like the discrepancies between Bobby and Cody. And like there's this huge vigil for Cody, and like they found him and now they're gonna like find his killer or whatever. And whereas like no one cared about Bobby. There was no like big moral. I'm sure his mom did something, but there wasn't like
but there weren't news agents and all this stuff, and it wasn't
right. And in the midst of their deep discussion, Grandma shows up. Mululu or Mulu. I don't even know her. Mulu.
Mulu, I think.
Well, she started calling her Mululu at some point. So I was like Lululemon. So that's the only reason I remember calling her that one time. But I think it is Mulu. So she shows up with food and drink. And Grandma starts telling Clarice everything, which apparently is what always happens when they get together and drink together. But she starts telling her about the Black Coalition and how she doesn't approve. She's like, you can't go this way, like it's just gonna shoot you back down. Like I don't think you need to like get involved with it. And obviously Matt's like, we're not talking about this right now. Like I let's do something else. And Clarice just kind of like lets it go.
Yeah.
And apparently grandma also wants her to go see her father, who is in a coma. And we learned that like, I don't know if this is where we learned until later. We learned we'll come back to it because it's like a paragraph away. So we go to Escobar and Clark, and Clark is still like so up in arms, and he's found out that that Bobby and this boy used to like live by each other, or that Mary Beth used to live with. Like he's finding all this stuff out. He's like, you should have been finding all the information on where people lived, and he is just like yelling at him. And then he's like, but don't worry, we found a suspect. And goes off. And we're like, Clark, you're being real hard on Escobar. Like, he's doing his best. He's doing his darndest.
Yeah.
So we go back to Clarice and Matt, and this is where Clarice asks about her dad. And we learned that he was a labor organizer and that he ended up being beaten by the police. And he's still in a coma. And this was when she was little, this happened. And so they're both like reminiscing about their dads and like how they miss them. And obviously Maps could potentially come back and Clarice's is not.
Yeah.
And Matt starts talking about, she's like, it's funny how we only remember the good things. Which is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You don't remember bad things if you don't have to. So then
see, but the thing though is like you don't remember bad things, but I think sometimes that's also a problem because people glorify people after they die.
Oh yeah.
And I think I think Ardelia is kind of toying, like struggling with not demonizing her father, but also like trying to stop the hero worship when he was just a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like Clarice clearly has passed that line. Like she worships her father.
Oh, definitely.
And I think Ardelia is much more level-headed about the truth behind what happens when you forget about the bad about people.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And at that moment, Clark calls and says that the match was to Mary Beth, our crazy neighbor lady.
Yep.
And we learned that she, quote unquote, lost her husband when her kid was 14. They're like, oh, he died. And they're like, no, he's just gone. She literally just lost him. Like he's left, never came back. And I was like, that's a way to phrase that, I guess, but okay.
Yeah.
And because of the way mitochondrial DNA works, it comes from the mother. And so they're saying that like, even like they don't think she did it, but if she has a son, it's probably him.
Yeah.
And so
because mitochondrial DNA is how they proved like the Eve gene. It's like the proof that all human beings have the same that one piece of DNA that is the same, and that's can trace back to the biblical times, and the idea that we do actually all come from the same human ancestors, which is really fascinating if you ever really want to get into the study about how science and the Bible can be synonymous.
I do. I've wanted that for so many years.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I love it. I love researching weird shit like that. But
for our second podcast.
Oh, yes. But yeah, so mitochondrial DNA, it's interesting because we are all linked in that way, but the actual, if the mitochondrial DNA has a strong enough match, it determines how close in relation you are. So like if the mitochondrial DNA is like a perfect match, it probably means that it's either like you or your parent or your mother or your children. It's interesting.
Yeah, I find it very interesting. I get way too hung up on like genetics and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I watched so I did a CLE this morning at 8 a.m. because that's what you do when you're sick. Um, and it was on diversity. And one of the things he got into was how genes pass through like feelings and stuff too. So the study where they did with the rats, where like the original rat got like shocked into not liking like fruits or whatever. And then like through even 3 or 4 generations down, some of the pups still like had that same adverse a lot of them
Yeah.
had the same adverse reaction because of how
Yeah.
genetics work. I'm just so fascinating. Like
Yeah. Generational trauma is not a theory.
yeah, and they're doing a new similar study on that. They've just recently started a new study, he said. But I don't have
The thing that's really interesting to me about generational trauma and that theory and the way that genetics and feelings work is that a lot of people you like to focus on the external, like somebody being shocked by
right.
something. And like we hear a lot about like the generational trauma in the gender divide or the race divide in
Mhm.
this country. However, the when people talk about that, and often the same people who talk about that a lot neglect the fact that the anger that you have about that situation and the way that you treat other people because of it imprints just as much, if not more, than the actual external trauma. And
Yeah.
so, like, when you feel strongly and racistly and negatively and whatever, you're literally passing that on to your children. So, like,
Yeah. And I'm hoping I don't know anything about this new study. He literally just said, "Oh, and they're doing a new study about this," and then moved on. So that is all the information I have.
well, I
But
can't
I'm
wait
very
to.
interested to hear like I'm hoping it goes into more of some of the like internal effect as opposed to just the external, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
'Cause I know people have been talking about it for years in that sense that like emotionally and internally and psychologically, like a lot of stuff passes, and I'm hoping that they're gonna actually do some studies. It's just
Yeah.
harder to test an external,
Yeah.
obviously. So, um, anyways, generational trauma. What a fun time. Um, and so at this time he's calling about the DNA, and then Cal's trying to call Clark about the attorney who's not answering, but he sees him at the Lockyer Labs, at which is obviously where the clinical trials have been happening. And so then at the same time, Escobar's calling Cal, and he's like, "You got to get Clark in line." He's like, "I don't know what's going on." He's like, he's yelling at everyone. He's acting a fool, and I'm gonna punch him. And Cal's like, "Sure, you can punch him. Probably deserve, just not today. Like maybe wait till tomorrow."
Right.
And this is where we learned that he's so insanely passionate about this because his sister was taken and they never found her.
And
He was the only one home.
yeah, I was gonna say, and he was home. He
Yeah,
could have seen it happening, basically.
right. And he was young, so it's not like his fault, but that's what he sees, obviously.
Yeah.
And we also learned that like at some point in time, someone said that they thought they recognized her in like a porno, whether
Oh
it
my
was Bill
God,
or
that
Madison.
fucking broke my heart. That
I know
fucking
that
broke
shocked
my
me.
heart.
That's one of the twists that I didn't see coming.
Yep, never saw that coming. That shattered me.
And that's when we learned that he's looking at those magazines constantly. Because he's just looking for his sister.
Which also explains why Krendler's not weird about the fact that he has a desk full of
Right.
spank magazines.
Sure. Yeah, because it's not a sexualized way, it's a detective way. He's just
Yeah.
he's constantly doing research and trying to find his sister and investigating, which is just devastating. Um, so oh, so he tells him this, and then he starts telling him about how the attorney is definitely involved with the kind of clinical trials. And then he also threatens to kill him in his sleep if he tells Clark what he told him. And I was like,
he's like, I'm
fair.
helping you understand, but also if you tell him that I told you his secrets, I will murder you.
Yeah, yeah. It is, I don't know if you can tell it's bright because Sadie's just opened my curtain, but it is pouring down rain and bright and sunny. And it's my least favorite. That's my least favorite weather of all of them.
I love that. That reminds me of Florida. I love a sun shower.
No, it's been like that too much. I like it to be dark. If it's gonna rain, make it dark. Take away all the light. Um, So we go to Mary Beth and Clarice, and she starts and Map, and Clarice is talking to her, and she's like, "Hey, we know like it wasn't you or whatever, but like we hear you have a son. Like, do you know where he is?" And she's like, "Oh no, not at all. Like he went off with his dad, never came back. Like I have no idea." And Clarice is like, "Cool, can I go to the bathroom?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." So of course she wanders and starts looking through like the quote unquote kids' room, and she finds a picture
Which,
of
listen, I understand what Clarice is doing. She's a good detective. Also, her snooping is like borderline illegal. If
oh,
not,
for
if not
sure.
way past.
It's definitely illegal. Like you have to have permission to like, or it has to be a parent. So like you had to accidentally gone in there. I mean, it's not illegal to find stuff when you're in there if it's in plain sight. You can't open things. So,
Yeah, but you can't
so
just
I
like
guess technically
you can't just like wander the rooms of people's houses without permission though.
you're not supposed to. Once they let you in the door, there's a lot more free range with that.
That's why I said
Like,
borderline illegal, because like she's
right,
in the house and she's allowed to be walking around the house without like supervision, but
right.
also like
So this probably would actually be legal and would not be a problem because she was let in the house because she was told like but basically because she was let in the house and not told you just have to stay here. So anything she finds, as long as she's not opening drawers and stuff, if she
yeah.
finds something that she just sees, it's fair game.
Right, which is why I know it's
Yeah.
not illegal. It just feels wrong. Feels
Right, right.
sketchy and not.
Um, for sure, for sure. Because what she finds is this picture of mother and son, and the son has the same birthmark or mole or whatever that Mary Beth's quote unquote husband has. And they go back, and Mary Beth is telling Matt that she knew the family. She was like, "Yeah, I knew both the families. We lived beside both of them. Like, it's such a tragedy." Um, and she also says that, so Clarice comes back and she's like, "Hey, do you think we could see a picture of your son just so we can kind of like put things together or whatever?" And she's like, "I don't have any pictures." And she's like, "You don't have any pictures of your son that you've known
Automatic
for
red
14
flag.
years? Right. And she's like, "No, none. None at all." And
Because like
she's
not
like,
even when he was like little
"Okay,
and your happy family was still happy, like
right, right." Um, and so then Matt tells her about the DNA match. And she's like, "Well, they matched to your DNA. And like, we don't think you did this. We think your son did this." And so immediately Mary Beth is like, "I did it. I killed those boys." It's like, okay, well, no one believes you. And
no. Never,
like,
never, never.
and so obviously they didn't believe her. And then they go to like run off and they're like, and that's when Clarice is like, "We know that he's not your husband, but your son, blah, blah, blah." And then she's like, "I don't know what he does in that garage." So Clarice goes to find him, as she does, and she sees the weapon that he's been using to kill everyone, and then he tries to kill her with a hammer. But they take him down, and he starts telling them that he told the boys what happened, and what had happened was when his dad left, his mom blamed him and decided that because he was the reason that her husband left, he had to become her new husband, and started assaulting him and treating him as a husband as opposed to a son, and made him lie about it forever. And he, I mean, being younger, he wanted to befriend people and he needed to tell someone. And so the first person he told was Bobby, but then he couldn't trust that he wasn't going to say anything. And so he just killed him instead of doing anything. And then the same thing
Yeah.
happened with Cody. And he said that the reason that they like, let me make sure this is the right time. Oh, yeah. So he's saying that he didn't want them to end up like him. And so we go to the interrogation and they start talking about how she hated, what did she say? She said she hated that Mary Beth hated the father more than she loved the son.
Yeah.
And so Jerry was concerned this is what was going to happen to everyone. And he was like, both of these kids have single moms whose dads have left, and whether they were widowed or whatnot, like they just weren't there anymore. And he didn't want the
Yeah.
same fate to end up to them because that's all he knew. And
Which
he
is
was like, this is what
so,
happened.
so sad.
it's so heartbreaking, but it also explains why the kids looked like they were being protected, because the whole time he was trying to protect them.
Yeah.
And it's just so heartbreaking. Um, so then we go to Paul and Matt and Clarice, and Matt is standing up for herself, and they're talking about how, like, she's like, I did this, like, I found this 12-year-old case, I found this, I talked to the people, they listened to me, like, I want it to be known to my superiors that this was my case that I solved. And Paul's like, absolutely, like,
Like done.
sure. And because it is, like, why would you not do it?
And because for all of his issues, he's a good boss.
Right. And so then Joe gets a call from Paul. No. Joe calls Paul. I wrote this backwards, and then I said I wrote this backwards, and I still wrote it backwards. It's fine. And so Paul's like, look, bro, I don't want to go in this direction. I just kind of want to leave it where it's at. I don't know that working together is good for us. Like, I don't want to hurt Mandy more than I have to with taking the kids. Like, I want it to be more civil.
Yeah.
And Joe's just like, too bad. And straight up blackmails him. And he's like, here's the thing. We're going to work together. I want what's best for you. I want to get your kids for you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get your kids for you. However, you're going to stop investigating the Ripple murders. Full stop. No, you're just going to say it came from the AG. You've got it. You've solved it. It's over.
Yeah.
And we leave it there. And we go to Matt, who's like dancing in the hallway. She's having like the time of her life. When Agent Garrett shows up, and she tells him she's pulling back from the coalition. She's like, grandma's right. She's making moves. She's going up on her own. Like,
yeah,
she's seeing herself increase, even though they said she wouldn't. And she's like, I'm just going to take a step back, and I'm going to keep following the path I originally tried to follow. So now we're back in Vicap's office, and Escobar's looking at the murder board for the kids that we've just solved. Clark pulls out his porno mags. Cal shows up to show Clarice the pictures of Joe at Lockyer.
Yeah.
And then Paul comes out and he tells them Joe's not the guy. They have to back off. And I was like, oh, not you, Paul. Can't have this. And he tells Clarice she needs more time off. He's like, whatever you want, I'll write it up for you. You let me know, but you need more time off. And then Clarice keeps the picture anyway of the cow jug in her drawer. And that is the end of the episode. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm just kind of over it.
Oh yeah?
No, I mean, the show's fine, but it's just fine though.
Yeah, I mean it is. And I like this episode better than I liked some of the others.
Yeah.
But like that's how I felt since the beginning.
Yeah.
So I will tell you I don't have any trivia. Okay. But I'll tell you some goofs. Mitochondrial DNA was first used in criminal forensics in 1996.
I was gonna say I didn't think that, which I guess they kind of played with it in a way where it was as if like it was brand new and no one had used it before, and that a map was like on the cutting edge of this research and this thing. So they could still I'm not, and like a lot of things that are like historical like that, like come on, 30 years ago being historical storytelling. But they do play with time a little bit in history often. I was actually honestly like 2 weeks ago listening to a podcast about it was a Stuff You Missed in History Class podcast, but it was a panel of historical fiction authors talking about the kinds of research that they do and things like that. And when one of the questions that was brought up that they talked a lot about is, when is it important to preserve historical dignity versus preserve storytelling? Because sometimes in historical fiction, you'll be reading it, you'll be like, I don't think those things happened quite in the same order that they just happened in that book. But if they didn't, the story disappears. and they're not large enough historical facts to it would
Matter.
matter. Like, sure, yeah, mitochondrial DNA wasn't used at that time yet, but however, forensics and DNA were, and
Mhm.
discovering new ways to use forensics and DNA was a big part of the 90s. It it's tricky and it's slightly off, but it's not like they said that we didn't land on the moon until 1975. Like, you know what I
Sure,
mean?
yeah.
Like there are things that are
It doesn't matter if we did it in 93 or 96
six
because we're not like, because it does, because when we're telling a fiction story, it's not like we're trying to retell history in the sense of like,
exactly.
we
And
found them
it's
in 92 because of this discovery. And it's like, no.
yes, and it's in the same realm of what could have been happening behind the scenes in small scale investigation at that
Right.
time.
And probably like if 96 is when we solved a case, they absolutely were probably already doing research in 93.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they had to have been because it's not something you just decide overnight.
Right. Right.
Um, yeah, no, that is I bet that was really fascinating to listen to. I go back and forth with that podcast. I don't know what it is. I haven't stuck with it.
Well, it's because
Um,
if you started from the beginning, the very old
yeah.
episodes when it first started, when they had like the short little 15-minute episodes, they're not very in depth. They're not very
Yeah.
solid. I when the hosts that took over in like 2013 or 2014, they're when the podcast becomes more long form, they're
Mhm.
really, really good. And like we know I'm behind. I can't say they're the current hosts because I'm still listening to the podcast from 2016. So I don't really know. Um, but
It's
the
stuff you missed in history class.
yeah. But whenever Holly and Tracy started, that's when things I think were really, really good. When did Holly and Tracy start stuff? Yeah.
I listened to some of their episodes, some of their new episodes.
Holly and Tracy became the co-hosts in 2013, but the podcast was launched in 2008. So everything from 2008 to 2013, you can probably skip.
Mhm. Maybe I'll try it again.
Okay.
Because I sure do just keep getting like I feel like I've tried to listen to it 3 or 4 times and I've listened to some of their newer stuff. But it's just not done it for me. I don't know what it is. I accidentally clicked on the episode and now I have to put my episodes back together because I had a queue going.
Mm.
And I don't mess that up. Um, anyways, yeah. So like we said, like I like this episode. I hope they finish the story before it's over because I want to know what they're gonna do with it. I don't think
Yeah.
they're gonna. I mean, we're only on episode 7. We've watched episode 8, but we're only on episode 7. There's 13 episodes. They very well could. We do a whole season of American Horror Story in 13 episodes. Like they could tell the story then. I just don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a bummer in 5 episodes. So we'll see. But I like the way they're telling stories. I like the way the cast fits together. I think they have a good chemistry
Yeah.
going, which I really like. Um, yeah, I don't know when we started this episode or how long it's been, but I think this is it. So who do you want to punch in the face?
I would like to punch probably Joe. I mean, that's a cliche, boring
Sure.
answer, but he sucks.
Yeah. Well, because you're gonna punch Joe, I'm gonna punch Mary Beth. Because she sucks hard.
She sucks hard.
I don't like her at all. She's uh just the worst. So who's your MVP?
My MVP is Ardelia.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I probably would have picked her too. But otherwise, gonna pick I'm gonna pick Cal
Yeah.
Patty this episode. He kind of like everyone else kind of did it. Was bigger, was like harder, but
But
he was kind of
he held
like
everybody
I'm
together.
holding it exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of like held the glue together, and he was like, "Look, this is what you need. This is what you need. This is what you need to know because this is what he needs." Like he
Yeah.
kind of was the glue that kept everyone together this episode. So
I feel like he has been a lot of the times and he's just so subtle about
yes,
it. I really kind of
yeah,
like that.
I do too. He's very like he's the calming
Yeah.
presence for sure. So I really like him. Um, Yeah, so on that note, if you want to talk to us about the show or whatever, you can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we'll see you on Sunday for our season wrap up, for our series wrap up. What are we doing?
Season 7 wrap up of Star.
Season 7 wrap up. Bye.